So I really quickly wanted to go over and just review the Enlightenment because it really helped spark the French Revolution. And if you don't understand the Enlightenment, then you might not understand like how did we get to the French Revolution, which is kind of our starting point in Western civilization. So the Enlightenment, that was a time in the 1600s and the 1700s when thinkers in Europe began to question these traditional ideals about government, society, and human rights. So philosophers, you probably heard a lot about John Locke. You may have heard about Voltaire and Rousseau. They believed that people had natural rights, such as life, liberty, and property, and that governments should protect those rights. They also believed that power should come from the people, not kings or the church, and that reason and science could improve society. So this is a huge change of thinking and believing like in these divine rights by a monarch. So you're going to see people starting to really break away, especially like the Americans and the American colonists. They're going to break away and they're going to be like, we don't need to be ruled by a king. We want to be ruled by the people and like a group of people instead of one absolute monarch. So that idea that we get about the American Revolution, that's really from the Enlightenment philosophy and Enlightenment thinkers. And as such, these new ideas inspired many people, especially in American and French revolutions. So, like I said, you've got people like Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, who were in the colonies that really sparked this revolutionary idea. And you've got Thomas Jefferson with the help of John Adams and Benjamin Franklin that are going to help him draft the Declaration of Independence, the greatest breakup letter of all time, right? So that leads to the American Revolution that we see started in 1774. Americans will not get their independence from Great Britain until 1783 when the treaty is signed. Not long after Americans get their independence, you're going to see the French Revolution take off. And that's where this class really picks up, is with the French Revolution. And in France, the Enlightenment led people to challenge the absolute power of the king and demand equality and freedom. And many revolutionaries used Enlightenment ideas to call for a government with equal laws and equal rights for the people. And we start to see that really happening. And there's this really scary time in the French Revolution, and it leaves a power void, And with that power void, you're going to see a young man step in, right? And so, but without the Enlightenment, people wouldn't have believed that change was possible. They wouldn't even believe that it was necessary without those Enlightenment thinkers. And that's why the Enlightenment is so pivotal to this time in history, is because without it, we wouldn't have had the American Revolution. We wouldn't have had the French Revolution. You wouldn't have the rise of Napoleon. We wouldn't have had the Napoleonic Wars. We wouldn't have had this complete shift in ideology and what we believe about government, and how, especially here in the U.S. and in most parts of the Western world, how the government should work.